It can't be the worst thing that ever happened because I'm about to yell at you for like an hour and a half about Richard Nixon.
It's an hour and a
Oh
half.
God.
Hello, and welcome to The Right Can't Read, a podcast about how the right wing can't make art, so they just wait 20 years and then steal it. My name is Robert, and I am your host today. I am joined by a truly incredible guest, the entity known only as Raron. So, you are the one spoken of from prophecy, the once and future Speaker of the House, who will save us from having to ever read an article about it again. So, Raron, what will you do to improve C-SPAN's watchability in the coming months?
It will be the House rules that will be adopted unanimously.
Perfect.
Yeah, nothing to add to that.
Yep, no, there isn't anything. Aaron, Rachel, introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Rachel. Pronouns are she and her. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what I missed for the first part of country music.
Oh, I thought you were there and you were just staring in utter shock
No,
and
remember I
awe the
was so
entire time, weren't
hungover,
you?
I couldn't even
Oh,
leave
that's right.
my bed. The absolute worst hangover I've ever had as an adult.
That's my favorite thing about getting slowly older is that the hangovers get incrementally worse with every passing year.
So
Yeah, they
bad.
do.
Yeah.
They do. It's
like-
like they just stretch on, even if they're not that bad, they just last longer.
Yeah.
Well, and now I've learned also that like my gag reflex has become a lot worse. So now I'll just like smell something when I'm hungover. And I'm like, oh my God, run to the bathroom. So yeah, good times over here. Yeah.
That's why trying to be an alcoholic this holiday season with my 24-year-old brother has not gone to plan.
And Rachel, does that mean so your next vacation, I'm assuming, is going to be either Hong Kong or Bangkok to a night market, and you're going to just smell all of the stinky
Oh my
tofu
God,
you
that
can?
sounds. Oh, that's a death wish.
Just go in there and rub your face in some durian.
I've been lucky enough to escape that thus far. I don't know
How
if
did
I
you
ever want to
escape
smell
that?
it. I don't know,
Whoa,
but I've only heard of it. I've never seen it.
yeah, that's something. I just read a book, true to branding, called Kosher Chinese, about a Jewish guy who was volunteering with the Peace Corps in central China. And stinky tofu pops up a lot. And every time it did, I just remember the night markets. And
Kosher Chinese is literally the setup to Woody Allen jokes.
it absolutely is. Yeah, just a long. That's like a 2-hour, 15-minute movie set around Christmas, starring. It's gonna be like him trying to remember when he was younger. So it's gonna be Seth Rogen.
Oh God.
And it's about a guy who gets stranded in Boise, I think, and
falls in love and marries the only Chinese woman in Boise.
well, he views it as rescuing her.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's not like a Hallmark movie where they settle down there. They once the blizzard passes, they take the first flight they can out to New York.
Yep. And
That's-
then he has sex with her daughter later in life.
Yes.
Oh,
Welcome to Pitchcast, where we pitch movies
to Woody Allen,
to Woody Allen.
even though all his movies are the same movie.
They are all the same movie. There was only one of them that I've liked, and it was the one with Larry David.
The correct answer is Play It Again, Sam. Have you not seen that one?
I have not seen that one.
Woody Allen gets coached on how to pick up women by the ghost of Humphrey Bogart, and it is an incredible fucking movie.
All right, I might have to watch that one.
It's really good. It's this guy who does a really good Humphrey Bogart being like, I don't know, Woody, maybe you should just hit that woman. And then Woody Allen's like, what? Fucking incredible.
This is where we get canceled for saying that we like some Woody Allen movies.
Yeah.
This is where we get obliterated.
Yeah.
The Maoists find out about us and write about us on the internet.
Chairman Mao, famously more moral than Woody Allen.
Rachel, I need to send you this review. I found a review that the Maoist International Movement wrote about Spider-Man 2. And
it's really good.
It is unhinged.
Wow. All right. Yeah, bring it on.
It's really good. All right. So now that we've discussed
people with senses of humor, we're not starting yet.
Yeah, we're talking about Maoists. And
We're talking about
Spider-Man
Maoists. I've been playing Spider-Man Remastered on PC, and there's the outfit you can unlock. That's just a Chairman Mao outfit.
That would make me play Spider-Man on PC.
It's a very fun game.
Yeah, it is, but
It's nice to have something that is neither grim nor dark.
I can't play another thing that makes me climb stuff in order to collect loot.
Well, yeah, but you also thwip.
Is that what that's called?
Thwip. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah. You just thwip through Manhattan. It's great. It would only be better if you could go into Brooklyn and like find yourselves in the middle of a bunch of black hat Jews. That would be funny. This is where I pitch a game.
Yeah. Jewish Spider-Man.
Jewish Spider-Man. It's right there. All you need is just a quick name change.
Just essentially Spider-Man.
Yeah, change nothing about the character.
Yeah, no, not even. Not a little bit. Ooh.
All right. Fine.
All right.
So
great. Now that we've discussed Woody Allen and Spider-Man.
Wait, what about Warhammer?
Warhammer! We can continue my Dostoevsky-like dive into madness through the genre of country music. If you haven't listened to part 1, it's an unnecessarily long history that somehow manages to be too short.
But yeah, I mean, when you listen to it, you'll hear me have a mental breakdown at several points.
You will, remembering the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But don't fear, listener. Now that the history is out of the way, we can get into what this podcast is really about. Sighing audibly while rubbing our faces as someone with a nasally voice screams about Nazis.
Oh,
that's our
like
intro.
Our trademark.
Yeah.
That's
In
our
other
intro
words,
from
just
now
great audio content.
No more of this trying to define what we actually do. It's just we sigh audibly and rub our faces.
Yep. In this section, the second section, pardon, as the French say.
French.
Yep. We'll be focusing on the seminal political events that turned modern radio country into the unlistenable filth that it is today. Those events are Richard Nixon and 9/11. Because there wasn't enough 9/11 in the last episode.
No, not nearly enough. Are we going to recap what we talked about last time for Rachel?
Yeah.
For the sake of our dear friend here.
Yeah. So country music started with a bunch of backwoods hillbillies beating on instruments that didn't really work. It was very pro-labor. It was very like multiracial. And then they made money and it became white and very straight. And then Richard Nixon ruined America and country music, but we'll get into that. There was still some good stuff happening, though, because Richard Nixon couldn't kill everything we love without a little time. But then Richard Nixon did 9/11, and that effectively killed everything.
That was, okay. I mean, that's, of course, well after he killed JFK.
Yeah, no. I mean,
well after.
I do get to talk about the assassination of one of the Kennedys in this episode, which makes me happy.
I'm sure. I can just imagine, like, it's pitch black. You got the screen illuminating your face as you type. Then Kennedy died, and there's a little grin on your face.
Yeah, it wasn't the Kennedy that I kind of like.
Yeah.
As much as politicians. It was Robert Kennedy, who can always fucking eat a bullet.
That catch-22 joke. Yeah. I told you that one.
No.
I think it was. I don't remember. It was. I'm gonna botch it specifically, but it was like
that was me going up to anyone at a bar. in my head. That's that's my walk-up music as I try to hit on anyone.
It was basically, talk about a catch-22.
I don't get it.
Yep, you nailed it.
Kata 22.
Oh, Kata 22. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, it's the original joke was much better than that. But
you don't say. So while we talked a little about Richard Nixon and 9/11 in the previous section, really spending some time picking through those two, let's call them tragedies, can show us something important. It can show us how the right wing takes moments of national anxiety and uses it to censor artists and make us all homogenous drones. In short, the government doesn't really need to censor you because your racist uncle and capitalism always will.
Societal pressure always wins out more than up down or top down.
Up down.
Yeah. Up down. I'm
up down.
Fine.
Down up.
Up is top and down is down.
Up top.
Facts. Yeah. Up down.
Up top.
All right. So of these two events, we will start with Richard Nixon because that is how time works.
Yep, that makes sense. Do we need to go further back? Explain maybe the formation of America and how it came out of a lot of different, milieus, but really European. And then we need to discuss how various peoples came together to form what we know as Europe now. But before that, you have mass migrations from various portions of the globe. But before that, you had a single kind of hunter-gatherer band that kind of escaped containment, as it were, out of the Horn of Africa. But before that, there were primates. But before that, there was a big fucking meteor. And really, that should have... It didn't go far enough.
Yeah, no, it really didn't. In short, if you want to know about history, listener, the most inbred person controlled the greatest amount of land, and then they killed each other about it.
Yes.
There you go. Bully the Habsburg guy on Twitter.
Oh yeah. If you find his handle or if you see it next time on Twitter, will you send it to me? Because I tried to search for it the other day and I failed.
It's really great.
Yeah, it's Gustavus Adolphus Habsburgus.
That's why I couldn't find his profile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So, Aaron, Rachel, what do you already know about friend of the pod, Dick, black people aren't smart enough to be communist spies, Nixon? It's a long nickname, but it's something he said.
I know that there is nothing more heartwarming than listening to his drunk conversations with Henry Kissinger.
I like that you accidentally said heartwarming.
Yeah, no, it is heartwarming.
It is heartwarming, yes.
Heartwarming and heartwarming.
Yes.
Just listening to the one man who pretended to be Nixon's friend.
Oh, despite him calling him little Jew boy.
Yeah, despite him calling. Yep. Wonderful man, no notes.
Yep, perfect guy.
Exemplar of Quakers everywhere.
Was he a Quaker?
He was a Quaker.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Quakerism really took a hit after the Civil War, apparently.
It just goes to show you that every brand can be corrupted.
Yeah.
Maybe a non-practicing Quaker.
Absolutely non-practicing. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I mean, it's like every time I think about the things that Richard Nixon did, I always forget one. So like I was thinking about, actually how him and his wife had that astrologist lady who was a complete fraud. But then you jogged my memory about the whole Henry Kissinger thing. And so it's like, there's just so much around that man.
Yeah.
That he did.
Nixon is quite a guy.
He's a wonderful dude. One of my favorite bits in The Good Place is when the Bad Place demons are in what's her name's mansion, and they're doing karaoke, but it's the Nixon tapes. And it kicks off with the thing you have to understand about the Jew in America.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good bit.
And the quote that I said about black people not being smart enough to be communist spies, it's actually Nixon's aide that says that. And then Nixon goes, yeah, maybe. And then Nixon says, but the Jews are born spies is the next line.
A man with very complicated views on race, not unlike D&D 5th edition.
Yeah, that's one of the many similarities between Richard Nixon and 5th edition D&D. Oh, yeah, so Nixon is definitely in his own personal hell right now. I assume screaming up at us as his jowls are melted into glue to create a scrapbook about someone's bar mitzvah.
Your Jew boy isn't as smart as my Jew boy was.
Ooh. Well, there are many ways that Nixon ruined American culture. To understand the enduring effect that old Tricky Dicky had on the evolution of country music, we have to study the 1968 and 1972 elections a little bit. Also known as the things that ruined everything, which I say about a lot of stuff, but it's always true.
It's because everything always ruins everything.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Let's start with 1968 because once again, that is how time works. It does come before 1972.
But to discuss 1968, we must first really discuss 1945. And in order to discuss 1945, we must first discuss 1812. But really, to discuss 1812, we have to discuss 1793. But in order to discuss 1793, Aaron Simon has been kicked from the call.
So 68 was one of those rare elections in American history where there were three viable candidates all running in the general. The first was the Democrat, Hubert Humphrey. He got where he was because, like all of us, Humphrey benefited from someone putting a bullet in Robert Kennedy. Cuba Libre, indeed, Bobby.
the cutting analysis you will not hear on CNN.
God, I fucking hate that guy. He's ready to turn the whole world into glass.
Yeah, a lot of people were, but yeah.
What a fucking asshole.
Now, I mean, here's the thing. There's a short story collection I read a while ago called Motoron, where the world is basically paved over with plastic.
Oh.
And like everyone, most men in this, well, no, it's like a subset of men transfer basically their brains and like a couple of organs onto these big metal chassis and take over these big fortresses where they just attack each other. And would that be a good apocalypse scenario versus everyone nukes each other? Which one would you rather live in?
I'm going with plastic world.
Yeah, because that means you get to live, at least. I feel like
kind of
there's a less of a chance with nuclear war.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I keep trying to read that, but it just never makes it to the top of my list for some reason.
It's such a good fucking series, like collection of stories. It's so weird. Delight. It's like Philip K. Dick. If Philip K. Dick were not completely
Insane
unhinged.
person.
Yeah. David Bunch, Motoron. Go read it. You know who else read that? Robert Kennedy.
But he never got to finish it.
You never got to finish it.
Yes, this shot cleared Humphrey's admittedly milquetoast path to the nomination. His campaign was about continuing the previous president's war on poverty, support for the civil rights movement, and just fucking killing every child in Vietnam. The second candidate was George Wallace. If you're elderly or a history person, you might know him as America's longest sitting governor, one of America's longest sitting governors. If you're not either of those things, you probably know him from your middle school textbook, which highlighted his inspiring work as one of his generation's greatest racists.
That's saying something. There are a lot of really big racists.
That was much. It was the golden age of boxing and of racism in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Do
we know Nixon's views on racism? No, sorry. We know his views on boxing. Sorry.
I think his take on boxing was too many black people, I would assume. Yeah. I personally know George Wallace from the truly great Drive-By Truckers album, Southern Rock Opera. Everyone listen to the Drive-By Truckers. In short, I have a typo in my script that's kind of funny, but in short, Wallace was racist for Congress in the 1960s, like by those standards. which
when
makes
Strom Thurmond was but a hatchling.
Yeah. So in this race, we have an unlikable liberal, an unlikable Nazi, and then Richard Nixon, a man who has only ever been charismatic by comparison. Nixon was terrified of Wallace because despite being a Democrat, Wallace was running to the right of Nixon. This meant that the third party candidacy of Wallace could split the vote and cost Nixon the election. So Richard thought up a new strategy, one that's destroying our country to this very day.
That was the Northern strategy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
His strategy in 68 was courting the middle. His campaign relied on being racist and conservative enough to shave some of the Nazis off the Wallace vote, but not so overtly racist that he couldn't also take some of the right-leaning supporters of Humphrey. This strategy was a winner, but not by a comfortable amount. Nixon won by less than 1% of the popular vote. He was scared about what could be coming in the next election because Wallace carried 13% of the country. The old-timey racist vote.
Still the same vote.
Yeah, still the exact.
Yeah.
You can still 13% of the country, still the exact same people.
Yeah. It's just kind of a generation or two removed.
Yeah. They all have like truck nuts now instead of whatever the
They
fuck
all have
people
truck
had in the
nuts.
60s.
They've got like the big AR-15 decals on said trucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Punisher logos with Trump hair.
Punisher logos with Trump hair.
So Richard Nixon broke down this election and learned many things from Wallace about how to court weird racists. But the thing I really want to focus on is that Wallace was one of the first national candidates to effectively use country as a political prop.
Okay.
For almost all of his time in politics, being from Alabama, he had used country music to promote his campaign. He had a country band that toured with him to his rallies.
Wow, fancy.
What was the name of the band?
I did not put it in my script just because it's cursed.
George Wallace's Georgie Boy Wallace.
George
family.
and the Wallaces. Yeah.
George and the Wallaces.
George and the Wallaces would be
George
great.
and the Wallaces.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, we should start a band called George and the Wallaces.
Be a big hit.
Yeah, huge.
I could
love
play my
political
guitar
jokes from 60 years ago.
doesn't have a high E string, and I don't have an amp for it. And then I
can screech atonally.
All right, good. So
Perfect.
Rachel, you're on drums.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, cool. We got a good punk band here.
Wallace was also friends with many of the Grand Ole Opry's biggest performers and got them to campaign for him when he was governor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The best known person who did this was Tammy Wynette.
Yeah.
Don't listen to her music.
Don't.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
Sucks.
Man.
This is what I'm reminded. Like, not everyone has the same insight into this stuff as I did. I grew up around Nashville.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, not everyone. It's like one of those things that's in the air. Like, I don't think I've ever listened to a Tammy Wynette song, but I know who she is or was.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
You go down Broadway in Nashville and you see there was which friggin' thing was it? It was one of the little bars that had a bunch of like the old Opry stars just horribly painted on a mural, just with no skill.
Weird tourist trap.
It was one of those things that was like an institution.
Oh God.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but yeah.
For the 1968 election, Wallace even pressed a country album with George Wallace themed country music. Don't listen to it. It's terrifying. Country music was so vital to his campaign that according to NPR, Wallace once told an aide, quote, "The people who like country music are going to elect me president," unquote.
Well, it's a little,
It
a little
might
scary
have been
'cause it's true.
Tootsies.
Yeah. Theron is still stuck on this bar.
I am. And I'm also completely blanking on what these bars were called. There's a word for them.
Like honky tonks?
Honky tonks. Yeah, there we go.
We're revoking your Tennessee birth certificate.
Please, it's not, well, I don't have one, so sure, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. You were born in a different state.
Born in a different state, different quality state.
different quality statement.
with no notes. Honky tonks. Yeah, it was one of the honky tonks. Sorry, I missed what you
How
said, but
dare
I'm
you.
sure it was fine.
Yeah, George Wallace, country music, big fan.
Yeah. By which I mean I'm paying perfect attention. We are a professional
We are
podcast.
professionals. We're not Googling Nashville bars in the middle of an episode.
No.
Oh, what are we? There's your problem. Oh my God. I do love that those guys will just in the middle of an episode be like, I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's some chutzpah. I mean,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. Country music, man.
Country music. Yep. So Wallace's political charm was definitely due to the feel that like his rallies were like a down home, like country concert. Had,
Just
like, a
passing
very
around
fancy
those
vibe.
big jugs with like
X's
XXX on
marks.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see
Everyone's in
that. It's like
overalls.
Everyone's in all
good community,
overalls.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Oh
had
yeah,
the-
man, you just bring your, you good old boys over. We'll have ourselves a time.
Yep. And this like got people to support Wallace because they went and listened to him, and their favorite musicians liked Wallace. It's like a tried and true formula.
We talked a bit about Oh Brother Where Art Thou last episode, and it's very much like that. You have like the dudes on the pickup truck blaring country music and also shouting "Vote Wallace" at the same time.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
This led to the greatest part of the 1968 election that nobody talks about: the country music arms race. To counter Wallace's folksy charm, Nixon spent a lot of time courting country music stars to campaign for him.
I can only imagine how that conversation went.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what it is that you hillbillies do here.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I have had so many blackout nights on that moonshine.
Oh, we lost his track.
Okay. All right. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that was
Oh,
his name.
yeah. As Richard Nixon's California ass tried to relate to people from the South.
So tell me, how many teeth do you still have?
He's from California, right? Yeah. Born in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're both like constantly trying to pull in more country music stars to like seem more folksy.
Okay.
In the end, Wallace edges Nixon on the country music vote because Wallace is like actually from the South
That makes sense.
and
So,
did have a kind of folksy charm despite being a racist.
it's like the whole Dr. Oz and John Fetterman.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
Richard Nixon couldn't stop saying shit like crudité.
Whereas Wallace just looms in the background in shorts and a hoodie.
Yeah. I do love that
Yeah.
John Fetterman dressed like a father for that whole race.
Mhm.
Like just the embodiment of a father.
With a constant scowl.
Yeah. Much like all fathers.
Yeah.
I was gonna say much like all people from Pennsylvania,
That's
but
fair. It's
also
all-
fathers.
Yeah, this is a firmly anti-Pennsylvania podcast.
That may change.
No, you're not gonna move to Philadelphia, Aaron. Don't do it. What are you gonna do?
Fun city.
Go fucking see an Eagles game?
It's like,
Eat
well,
a sandwich that's 9,000 calories?
God, I love
No.
those things. Those are delicious.
No.
Yes. What I
Fucking cheese whiz and brisket. No.
it's so good. Yeah, I mean, brisket is the best. And with the cheese whiz, that just means that you're not going to eat for a couple of days afterwards. So it's great.
It's a combination of white trash and Jewish that I can't get on board with.
That's my pedigree. So it's
You
just
were
a
born to
natural
eat
thing.
Philly
I
cheesesteaks.
was born to eat Philly cheesesteaks.
Oh, alrighty then. So, Wallace edges out Nixon in the folksy charm race, but he's just like too much of a racist for 1960s America somehow.
I did you get quotes from Wallace? I don't have a lot of primary sources for Wallace. A lot of it is just like tangential stuff like Neil Young or what have you.
Wallace's most favorite quote is segregation now, segregation forever.
Yeah, that's a good
Yep.
one. That's one you put on a banner.
Yep, that's what he did.
Yeah.
So even though he won, Nixon never forgot about this race. Which brings
Wait,
us...
hold on. Are you trying to say that Richard Nixon held grudges?
Absolutely.
I'm shocked. No.
Even
The man
against...
who opened China?
He founded the EPA.
Yeah, he was a great president.
Yup.
I've done a lot for this country.
Anyone who ever says that EPA shit to me gets a swift block, even if it's in real life. I will just walk away.
You just go no and then
yeah,
walk away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just boop them on the nose like I'm hitting the block button.
No.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this brings us to 1972. There are so many things that I hate about this election, but we are going to focus on country music.
Give me the top 5 things that you hate about this election.
For one of the things we wouldn't be focusing on is the fact that Nixon's re-election campaign was named Creep.
That's right. I forgot it was.
Why again? I remember learning about that, but why? Do you know?
Fuck, what does it stand for? It's
Oh,
an acronym.
I'm
It's the
gonna look it up.
Committee to
Hold on.
Committee for the Re-election of the President. Creep.
Yeah,
Oh God.
that's it.
Well, we're calling it creep.
Yeah.
We creep our way into the hearts of America.
I mean, there were like PR agencies around by then, right? Like
They were all drunk.
They didn't have any.
Yeah, they were all drunk.
Yeah, they're all drunk. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It was just Don Draper beating his wife.
Oh, you mean the embodiment of cool and like the model for all a manosphere, which is really a complimentary term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I hate that Watergate happened during this election. That's 2.
Yeah.
I hate that the Democrats intentionally fucking kneecap their own candidate for being too progressive because he proposed universal basic income.
Well, luckily that's never happened since then.
Not a single fucking time.
And will never happen again because they've learned their lesson because of this election.
Yep. I hated that Kennedy would have won the Democratic nomination if he had run.
Now that one won't happen again. So you're
Shout
in the
outs to the only living Kennedy in politics being frog fucking balls insane. Dude is cracked. And my least favorite thing is that Richard Nixon sabotaged the Democratic frontrunner during the primary by creating a fake letter where he used the word Canuck, which is apparently a slur for French Canadian people.
Wait, is it? Do they actually think that's a slur?
Apparently they did then, because Richard Nixon cut the knees out of the Democratic frontrunner by creating a fake letter where he was too racist to white people. Richard Nixon said the other guy was a racist.
Well, the thing that you have to understand is that it is perfectly fine to be a racist if it's about people who are not like you. But if it's about white people, that crosses the line.
Fucking insane that happened. How is that possible? Too racist to French Canadians.
The French are basically Italian, Shark.
And so he got away with it?
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot because I don't know about this, but
Yeah, he created a fake letter and he got away with it.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah. Dude just couldn't stop Watergate. Always be Watergate. That was his fucking motto. It's astounding.
I think like my first introduction to Nixon was that Frost Nixon movie that came out in like, I don't know, 2003 or something like that. And it just seemed a little too unhinged to be believed.
And then you realized that it was downplaying how crazy Richard Nixon was.
Incredibly downplayed. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's, I don't love all of Hunter S. Thompson, but he has a collection of essays called Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72, which is incredible. It's just a man who could not hate Richard Nixon more, just spending all of his time around Richard Nixon. and it's awesome.
I've read bits of that. I need to read the whole thing.
It's really good. It's peak Hunter S. Thompson, just fucking railing amphetamines and bullying Richard Nixon, which are the only two things I do.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You find Richard Nixon's grave and travel there every couple of months just to shout at it.
To cut up a huge line of Adderall on his headstone and then be mean to him.
Sounds very like therapeutic, actually.
Yeah, I think I might start. Yeah. So to understand the impact of country music on this race, we have to understand Nixon's campaign strategy in 72. The Southern strategy was pioneered this year. The entire basis of Nixon's campaign is best summarized by Jesse Montgomery in a doctoral thesis that he wrote. Quote, "The approach they devised was to mount a cultural campaign. Rather than make commitments to the material betterment of the working class, the administration would pursue a politics of recognition and celebrate the worker as an ideal. This appeal to the allegedly moral superior backbone and patriotic rectitude of the American worker, always defined against the non-productive protesters and freeloaders of the left, led Nixon, as it had Wallace, to country music."
I counted 4 distinct head shakes from Rachel during that. It's the generation of all right-wing identity politics.
Yeah, no, it is.
Modern
That
era.
was Nixon's whole idea for the 72 election, was to create culture war bullshit.
Yeah.
And he fucking did it. It's what we're living in today, is Richard Nixon's world.
The hippies are out there to destroy all of America.
Yeah, it's like he fucking, like, everything we're suffering now was Richard Nixon's campaign strategy in 1972, and we've never recovered.
That's just so wild.
Yeah.
It's been happening since then,
Yeah,
and nothing has changed.
no, not a thing.
We are, this is at the core of every human.
It's Richard
Are
Nixon.
3 apes, and they're all tearing each other's faces off.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's-
always think of little SpongeBob's with the fire going on, and he's like running around his file cabinets, and it's just like chaos.
No,
Yeah.
it's much more gruesome than that. It's chimpanzees ripping each other's faces off at the drop of a hat. It's that is humanity.
And so it was like this culture war strategy combined with Olympic level dick stepping by the Democrats, that the heavyweight champions of stepping on your own dick, the Democratic Party, which allowed Nixon to permanently landscape the battleground of American politics to no longer be about policy choices, but instead culture war bullshit.
That makes even more sense too about the Democrats.
Yeah, yeah.
If they would have had just like combat that
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
sign, maybe
Yeah.
we'd be living in a very different world.
Why would you do that, though?
Yeah.
Well, I think the Democrats of this era were also in a super fucking weird position, because you still had the Dixiecrats who were still firmly embedded.
I mean, George Wallace was a Democrat.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, I am not I don't think I've read a single goddamn book about this era. I've read a couple of articles, and a lot of my Nixon knowledge comes from Futurama. So I'm an idiot.
They pretty much nail him, though.
Yeah, but like it's a weird fucking position to be in, and I'm not saying that anything the Democrats did was smart, but I don't know how you fucking juggle that if you want to like be the same party as you were at the start of the race. I mean, the answer is don't. And don't embrace the giant racists. Of course, that's the answer, but that's not what they did. And I don't know, I'm going into a weird fugue state right now where I'm thinking like Aaron Sorkin, and I need to snap out of this.
As your name slowly morphs on the screen.
Did you know that Jordan Peele got Bradley Whitford to be in Get Out specifically so he could deliver the "I would have voted for Obama a third time" line?
Really? Just because
Yeah,
he fucking played Josh Lyman?
Yeah, and he did not get the joke.
Bradley Whitford didn't?
He did not get the joke. He thought like he didn't understand why it was a joke, and he thought it was like a legitimately positive thing about this character.
Oh no, that's
So-
so fucking West Wing.
Perfect casting from Jordan Peele.
Jesus Christ, Bradley, I like you so much. Why are you like this? I don't like that at all.
You're welcome.
I don't like that at all.
It's on the Sight and Sound ballot now in top 100s movies of all time. Get out.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What's his IMDb ranking? The only true
Don't
ranking.
don't you fucking bring that up again. My God, you want me to have another just on mic meltdown?
Because it passed Transformers.
Nothing can pass Transformers except for Transformers Rise of the Fallen.
God, the fact that you know the colon title.
There is a very good friend of mine years ago thought that would be a good movie to go see as a group. And yeah, I was like,
Not
"But
if
we
you're a
can't."
part of that group.
Yeah, and we were like, we can't do this. He goes, but it's going to be bad. I was like, I'm not suffering. I'm not paying $18 to go see
To go
that
see a
movie.
Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so much like Michael Bay, the evil that is Richard Nixon's Southern strategy had been going on for years by the time this doesn't track. Nixon started using the Southern strategy and creating it early in his time as president after 68. And one of the big ways he did this was starting to court the country music using the full power of the federal government.
Explain.
In the years leading up to the 72 election, he would pander to country stars and country music listeners by doing things that had never been done before for the genre, like inviting Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash to play at the White House.
Grift
Seems like
was
an easy but small step. Sure.
corruption was a lot cheaper back
It
then.
really was. These concerts were never apolitical. Like if you watch the Merle Haggard one, Merle Haggard is like fucking creaming himself at the fact that he gets to do Patriot porn at the White House. But because Johnny Cash, while being a complicated man, was not a hack, when Nixon invited him to the White House, he asked him to play the song Welfare Cadillac, which is a ballad about how poor people cheat the system. And Johnny Cash was like, fuck you, man.
Solid.
Yeah, which we'll take. Instead, he played the song What is Truth and asked Nixon to end the Vietnam War. Shout out to Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah,
complicated
Pretty
man.
based.
Nixon also named October Country Music Month, in case you observe.
So, Breast Cancer Awareness Month came after that. So they're second, right?
Yep.
October is the original
Country Music
Country
Month.
Music Month.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why every October you see people putting up their country music decorations. Big
Yeah.
fucking inflatable Kenny
Yep.
Chesneys on everyone's lawn.
If you spring for the whole, like the Leonard Skinner set is expensive, but damn if it isn't worth it.
Every light is Leonard Skinner, and they all play Sweet Home Alabama when you turn them up.
Just incessantly.
Yeah. Oh, Richard Nixon even showed up and played piano at the Grand Ole Opry, which is fucking terrible.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What did he play? Do you have?
I have no idea. But there's a picture of him playing piano.
Do you know? If you've seen Tombstone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, have you seen Tombstone?
Of
Oh
course
my
not, no.
God! All right, why weren't we watching movies when you were over?
Because we're
there's
eating
a-
latkes.
Well, yeah, but we could have been watching Tombstone and eating lot. There's a scene in Tombstone where Doc Holliday is just smashed, and he's playing Chopin, and this one of the gang members comes over. He's like, "Is that Stephen Foster?" And Holiday responds, "No, it's Frederick fucking Chopin," and it starts a fight, and it's great. Tombstone is a fantastic movie.
I assume whatever song Richard Nixon played had kike in the title.
Oh, so it was a Wagner piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Nixon.
I am going to play you a song about the superiority of the white race.
Yeah. Well, he played all of the Ring Cycle. Yeah. So he spent tons of time, effort, and resources cultivating this mutually beneficial relationship with country musicians and the genre's power brokers, and did this to a degree of success that caused the head of the Country Music Association to say that country music is the voice of Nixon's silent majority. Which he said when handing Nixon a personal record pressed by the CMA that has never been published. It was only for Nixon.
Every day I went to work. When I was in Nashville, I walked by the CMA headquarters.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Yeah. Big Nixon fans.
Big Nixon fans.
Yep. Oh, yep. Yep. Very sad fact.
And that recording was, of course, or that record was, of course, a recording of Nixon playing the Ring Cycle.
Yeah. With Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee as all of the lyrics to the Ring Cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was genius on Nixon's part. He was able to get the country music vote, and he was also able to forever tie the genre of country to the image of a straight white Republican Southern man. He made country music into culture war bullshit. He leveraged the white middle class's fear of change about, the gays and the blacks and everyone who isn't a white man from Alabama getting basic human decency in the 60s and 70s to just totally remove any creativity from the genre if you wanted to be commercially successful. You had to be Nixon approved if you wanted to make it big time.
You're trying to tell me that Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys were not a critically and commercially acclaimed band?
Famed platinum artists.
Yeah. With their pro-choice songs.
Yeah.
Songs about beating up racists.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the idea of using government resources to bridle America's most popular music genre to the Republican Party is nuts to me. And it worked, and I hate it.
Yeah. You sink your meat hooks into populism and you just claw it over. And you make it explicitly political, and then people latch.
Yep. Yeah. So this is not a new move on the right wing. They love to combine art and identity. For instance, Wagner's desire to make music for the Volk, or the idea of only white people making country music, or the idea of degenerate art being made by degenerate people is just a classic fucking move.
And you're talking about crypto bros there?
Yeah, exactly. NFTs are objectively degenerate art. I'm only a crypto Nazi. Anyone who does crypto gets the wall. And to create this idea of degenerate art, you also have to construct a good art, quote, scare quote, good art. And degenerate art being tied to an identity is the same as good art being tied to an identity. So what Nixon effectively did was make rock and roll degenerate hippie music, jazz degenerate black people music. If you're a real God-loving American, you make and listen to country. We should be afraid of these feedback loops where government promotes art, promotes government, promotes art, like Richard Nixon did with country. This is not a system of honest artistic expression. It's a power grab by elites whose goal is to control the populace.
I mean, you say that now, but in my glorious regime, when black metal is the music of the populace, your tune will change.
Aaron's glorious regime, where it's all black metal and klezmer.
Yes, exactly. Klezmer is for festival days.
Yeah. Black metal's for relaxing at home.
Yes.
Wait, can I ask a maybe dumb question? What were, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but like, what were the people around Nixon listening to? Would that have been country, or would that have been like something else? And they just are not included in that.
I'm sure
Like,
fucking no
you
one
know
at
what
the
I mean?
White House listened to country music.
Yeah, I get the impression that a lot of these people just listen to static.
Yes.
Like, I don't think, I can see that, like, Kissinger listening to classical, but not because he gets anything out of it, but because that's where people who make a lot of, or have a lot of power go.
Yeah. I think Henry Kissinger just listened to a recording of Vietnamese children screaming for help to unwind at the end of a long day. He just listened to the destruction of Cambodia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they listened to, but I'm fucking sure it wasn't country music.
Yeah. That's never the way it works. And I mean, unless you are like George W. Bush, I think he is the only president who legitimately listened to country.
Yeah.
And that's because he really should have just been the commissioner of baseball.
Yeah. Fuck, he would have been a great commissioner of baseball.
Yeah, he got turned down for that job. And then
Did he really?
Yeah, he was like the owner of the Rangers and was gunning for commissioner.
Wow.
And when that didn't work out, went in just, yeah.
What a different world that would have
I
been.
know. Missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's the Hitler artist moment.
If he had just stuck with like owner of the Rangers and gone down that route instead of destroying vast swaths of Iraq and the Middle East in general.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. That's a good question, Rachel. I don't know if they're
well, because like
people would
you know
think
what I'm
about that,
yeah, like I don't know how to really articulate anymore, but it's just they're trying to get everyone else to listen to this stuff, but then it's like, okay, well, what are you listening to? Probably the stuff that you're telling people not to listen to, and just
I don't think
that's
my read on Nixon is that he wouldn't have been listening to jazz or rock and roll because he probably would have hated both of them. I think like maybe if it was like Dave Brubeck and Take 5, the thing that I was playing the other night, where it's just kind of like light piano, not very challenging. That would probably be the most extent of jazz that he would get into. I don't think he was jamming to John Coltrane or Miles Davis. Fuck. So I want to get Richard Nixon's views on Sun Ra. Sun Ra is this
thank you.
Big funk band or group. I don't know if band is the right word. Like it's Sun Ra and the orchestra. So
A collective.
It's a big collective, very like trippy vibes everywhere. Plays the Hollywood every.
Do they really?
Yeah, like next time they roll through in Redacted, I'll send you a link. And it's not. I mean, as far as these concerts go, it's not too bad, like price wise.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, Nixon watching that would be a joy to see.
Absolutely. Oh.
Yeah, like Sun Ra does still does. It started off doing a bunch of like Afrofuturist stuff, like very black forward, Pan-African movement.
Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So Richard Nixon created the culture war and made country music part of it.
Yay.
Yeah. So that's the end of the Nixon segment. Any other final thoughts about our friend Richard Milhouse Nixon, friend of the pod?
Tricky Dick.
Love him, hate him, like what he did. Big fan of his work as a racist.
There was a comic that ran for most of the Bush administration and into the Obama administration called The Pain. And in the darkest days of the Bush administration, the artist drew himself on a beach looking out at the horizon with Nixon to his left, and they were both staring out at the sunset. And it was like, I forget what the exact words were, but it was basically like, well, Dick, they've finally overtaken you. And Nixon's thing was finally like, sons of bitches. But
it's just every time we start talking about something that's really shitty about this country, it always did I just turn off my mic?
Okay. All right.
God damn it.
Go back.
It always just every time we talk about something like how country music is now ingrained in the right wing. It always goes back to Nixon. Like everything always just there's a road.
Like Nixon and Reagan are
leads
the
back.
two champions of generating everything that's horrible about this country.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It was sorry earlier when I mentioned the astrology. That was Reagan, wasn't it?
It's okay.
But Reagan was just likable Nixon.
Yeah, basically. They're both from California.
Yeah. They both were like incoherent for various reasons for most
Yeah.
of their presidency.
Yeah. I've one so when I was when I was gonna say when I was younger, which is technically true, but not me and not the connotation. So a few years ago, I used to do these like movie nights with a friend of mine, and we called them film school. And we would choose a stupid theme and choose a good movie to show, and then a bad movie, because over the course of the good movie, people will get very drunk, and then you don't pay attention to the bad movie. So, like a good film school thing would be like the movies of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Holy shit. They are all bad though.
I'm sure. I mean, they were all like it was like primarily westerns, right? Like
Or
the
something like
truly shitty westerns.
Yeah.
But like what did Nixon do before he was in politics? I
just
don't
imagine
know.
that Nixon always did politics.
I think
I don't
like,
remember.
he's got to be a guy who was always like in the Young Republicans.
Yeah.
Ew,
I know
yeah,
he
one
was
of
in the
those.
Navy for a while.
He was in the Navy. That's right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And
But
he was
yeah.
an attorney. So I assume he was like one of these
Okay.
scum-sucking fucking law school, straight to the military, straight to politics guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Those are-
representative and a senator.
Those
before
are
that.
always just the worst fucking reptiles who are going into law school wanting to be in Congress.
Yeah. It's the same kind of breed. It's like so many. So many.
Ooh, yeah,
Need to-
just all bastards.
Yeah, just excise this genome of the country in a
Yeah.
non-actionable sense.
Non-actionable eugenics.
Yes, non-actionable, not advocating eugenics.
Yeah.
In the event that my mother ever finds this podcast, not advocating that.
Ooh.
Barry is though. That's what
Yeah.
you just.
Barry's very pro eugenics.
Mhm.
Ugh. So now that we've discussed Richard Nixon, we get to discuss a much more subtle thing that happened. It's 9/11!
Hey!
Aaron, do the 9/11 air horn. We're excited for 9/11. Yay, 9/11! All right. Okay.
What's that? Oh, I'm getting word that a second 9/11 has been cited.
Because we forgot the first one.
We forgot the first one.
Yeah, I forgot the first 9/11 at home, and I'll need to get a new 9/11 at the store on the way to the party.
Yeah.
This is the part of every pod where we talk about how 9/11 made boomers lose their little lead poisoned minds.
Yeah. Really, all you can just tie it all back to like taking
Ronald
lead out of
Reagan,
the
Richard
gasoline.
Nixon, and 9/11 and leaded gasoline.
Yeah, taking the lead out of gasoline may be the only thing that saves the world.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, 9/11 was when the CIA and the Mossad filled the World Trade Center with thermite in order to justify a war that would slake our lizard overlords' unstoppable hunger for Middle Eastern.
Unceasing amounts of hummus and
Yeah,
falafel.
yeah, it's not actually adrenochrome. They thrive
No.
on chickpeas.
The amount of times I was told that no Jews died in 9/11 was
Holy shit. Fucking crazy. Oh, my parents-in-law's neighbor is a Jew and says that.
what?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Fucking hell.
It's not a great choice on his part.
You get some people who I mean, it's again, humans are humans. He gotta. Oh, that's so stupid, though.
He's a naturopath. So opinions
Oh,
towards
well,
insanity.
I've got a couple of cousins who complain about our healthcare, not because of the fact that we still
because of all the problems.
yeah, not because of all of those limbs, but because they're naturopath covered.
Wow.
Alrighty then.
Hey, we're talking about naturopaths.
9/11. Yeah.
9/11. Sorry.
Yeah. The only thing worse than yeah. So that wasn't what happened on 9/11, but it's lame what actually happened, and Fox Mulder would never have worked on that case. So
no, he would have been investigating like in West Virginia, but Mothman.
yeah. So the Lizards, Mossad, Hummus 9/11's the one I prefer to go with.
Yeah.
Because Fox Mulder would have done that one.
Yeah. The planes were Scully. The planes were a series of Mothmans all chained together.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh. Yep. So we're talking about 9/11 because it allowed the assholes in the Bush administration to accomplish the mission that Richard Milhouse Nixon had begun all those years ago. Full government control of culture.
Yeah, basically.
This has been a bucket list item for the U.S. government since its founding. Feel free to check out Operation Mockingbird, Operation Earnest Voice, or the Pentagon's film department for more information.
You're just chucking these things at us. Explain. Give. This is like people, Rachel, who in meetings would just start vomiting acronyms and never explain any of them.
Exactly.
The
worst kind of people.
It's not my fault. You're sheeple.
Listener, you can't see it, but Shark is in a cement basement with no decoration. There appears to be what is a Faraday cage, but only around the headphones.
Yeah, exactly. Operation Mockingbird was a U.S. intelligence apparatus program to influence journalism in the United States. It had lots of big name journalists as a part of the payroll of the intelligence apparatus.
Boring. What's the next one?
Operation Earnest Voice was an attempt to influence Middle Eastern politics by completely overwhelming the internet infrastructure of the Middle East with bullshit pro-America opinions.
Hey, that's familiar.
Yeah! They're doing it here now! I'm sure what we did in the early 2000s will never come back to bite us, ever.
There are never feedback loops created by our own petards.
Don't look up the words Foucault or boomerang. Foucault's boomerang is the idea that the colonially oppressive tactics you use in your colonies eventually will come back to be used on your own populace.
Okay. Thank you for explaining it to us, smooth-brained.
Yeah, I'm explaining weird leftist jargon in my explanation of other weird leftist jargon.
Yeah, I'm sure that's further down on my stack underneath.
Looks at stack.
No, it's the new translation of Herodotus's histories. That's very far down, so I'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I'm desperately trying not to ask you about who translated it because no,
you already know. We've talked about it.
Oh, have we?
Yeah,
it's not a new version.
It is. It's the thing. Compelling Radio. It is translated by Tom Holland. It's the new Penguin thing.
I'm guessing not the actor.
I'd be really impressed with the actor.
Yeah. Hey, you never know.
You do
but
never know.
This one is supposed to be good. I think I heard that.
Penguin Classics often has good.
Yeah.
And the Pentagon's film department is the thing that made all of the movies that have Tom Holland in them.
Yeah, you gotta love all of that. Those handshake agreements between studios, Bay, and the Pentagon to
any movie with any piece of military equipment or any cop movie was made in partnership with the U.S. government. You might point out that that's all of the movies.
That's one of the things that really cheesed me off about the new Batman movie is like there's a scene after everything happens and Batman is doing a really half-assed job of rescuing people. and just basically goes like, "No, I can't do it. You better help strong National Guard man." And it like cuts to these like guardsmen framed against the backdrop of a setting sun while Gotham's like partly underwater. It's like, that's not, it's good that when there's like disaster relief, but also it's just like, come on, you're doing this in a fucking Batman movie?
That's how you get $25 million from the Pentagon, Aaron.
Yeah, I know, but I watched it on the plane and I was sitting there.
Well, originally there was a more realistic scene where after Batman says that, they cut to all the National Guardsmen shooting people for taking food from supermarkets, but it didn't make the final cut for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's in one of the Batman movies. It's like, there's looting on that street.
Like fucking lootly, of course it is. Yeah. Oh, yep. Yeah. So all those things are bad. But there was no single moment that helped the government control culture like 9/11. As we discussed earlier, the more overt part of this is hundreds of truly horrible songs that give Aaron war flashbacks.
Yeah. Where were you?
Yep.
Freedom isn't free call.
But instead of me just reading the lyrics to Alan Jackson songs until we all go insane, we have to talk about the more subtle thing that happened on 9/11, which is the fact that we destroyed one of America's greatest musical acts, the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which was the true tragedy of 9/11.
That was I think we talked about it during that episode, but it's just like they were very like hands off in the criticism of everything. Like Sinead O'Connor did a bigger thing of ripping up the Pope's headshot on SNL, and the Dixie Chits were like, "Yeah, fuck Bush," and careers ended. The only people who have ever been canceled truly by all of America were the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it sucks. Like I didn't listen to them, but
they were like one of, go ahead, Rachel.
No, you go ahead.
Now you.
Yeah, you.
Okay, well, I was just gonna there's a country artist right now named Morgan Wallen who is getting more and more popular, and like he was essentially, he was called out last year for saying the N-word, and there's a whole bunch of like negative press around him. He ended up like apologizing, but his record label dropped him, and like a few people stopped working with him. But he's like, he just won an award recently, and he's starting to get more popular again and like recover from that. Yeah. And I feel like the Dixie Chicks are, like you said, really the only people that haven't recovered from a backlash against, from the community.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know if they record individually anymore, but
they still tour and stuff, but they never like were at their height again. I mean, they won another Grammy after, but they never like at the time before this happened, they were the #1 selling female band of all time.
Yeah.
They were like the band that laid the groundwork for like the Taylor Swift type pop country sort of like thing.
Did Taylor Swift ever really qualify as country?
Yeah,
at the very beginning.
Okay. All right. I'm asking out of ignorance. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's kind of
just
changed over the years. I feel like
definitely pop country, but country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to get into the like exact specifics of what happened here.
Oh yeah.
It was during a concert in 2003 when Bush was just about to launch the Iraq War, when Natalie Maines, a member of the band, said that the Dixie Chicks were ashamed that the president of the United States was from Texas. They were doing the concert. They said this during the introduction to the song Traveling Soldier, which is objectively patriotism porn about how good American veterans are, which is what makes this even more insane. Yeah, it's about how good a Vietnam veteran is, which, spoiler, he was not. Yeah. So it's like a patriotic song. So frustrating.
Just
can't
have any criticism.
No. So the song was patriotic. They apologized multiple times and clarified that they loved the US military and the people in it. And they still fucking got canceled.
It was truly insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, some examples of what happened is a radio station in Colorado suspended 2 of its DJs for playing the Dixie Chicks.
Wow.
Jim Jacobs, the president of a major broadcast union, said that he received hundreds of maudlin calls from people with family in the armed forces, aghast that the Dixie Chicks didn't want their family members to go die in the deserts of Iraq. An Atlanta radio station polled its listeners, and 76% of them said they wish they could return their Chicks CDs.
Oh my god.
have you seen Mars Attacks?
Yeah.
You know, Jack Black's family,
Yeah.
and that as they're like cleaning guns, and like, that's everyone just so
Yeah,
proud of their boy about to
Fucking
get disintegrated by an alien going.
It got so insane that George Bush responded to the Dixie Chicks to
What'd he say?
one thing they said at a concert. He said something about how like it was their right as freedom-loving Americans, and that like our brave men and women had died so they could shit talk the president or some shit like that. George
Good
Bush
research,
shit.
Shark. Thank you.
Yeah, I read it and was like, I don't fucking care. I'm sure with George Bush, it had like 8 hanging
Yeah.
participles and like some other fucking shit. But
long periods of pauses while he
Yeah.
gets distracted thinking about a rabbit he saw earlier.
yeah, something shiny's in the crowd.
Yeah.
He
Well,
tries
like,
to-
do you think that if he would have come back immediately and like, I don't know how you respond to that in a neutral way, but basically, yeah, like what he said just, they have the right to express their thoughts, whatever. Do you think if he did that immediately, it would have changed anything?
I'm gonna go with no. I think
don't think so
I think
either.
the people who were already on that bandwagon were so profoundly broken by 9/11 that they
Yeah.
carried it with them for 2 years, and it just kept boiling
This
over.
was the thing that,
and
that
it was
really,
it was just people were in a fucking fervor,
yeah.
and
And this was where we like got to see the like culture war, like identity politics thing that Nixon had created become like an offensive weapon of war in a way that it hadn't quite been before.
Mhm.
Like Richard Nixon's ghost came hard and thick in his pleated pants over what was happening to
That's
the
so
Dixie
gross.
Chicks. He could finally rest.
I have achieved release.
Yeah. And this is where we get into a weird thing I want to talk about
good.
all this. Aaron, could you please explain to the audience what a golem is?
Okay. So the
Not
golem,
the one from Lord of the Rings.
I wanted to make sure.
the
All right.
one from Prague.
So the golem is it's kind of like a Jewish folklore and myth thing. Basically, you had the Jewish population of Prague was confined in a ghetto, and constant anti-Semitic attacks and everything. And there's a Rabbi Lowe, who is a big renowned figure, like outside of the story, is like a big rabbinic source of Talmudic disputation and everything, but within the source is a Kabbalic master of the Kabbalah, master of mysticism. So he forms a mound of clay, and on the mound of clay he inscribes like the words. It's like what is it, Arim something, and from that word inscribes these 3 letters on the golem's forehead, and inserts part of the Torah. I forget what specific it is, and then the golem comes to life, and it is tasked with being the protector of the ghetto of Prague. So with each bout of violence done to the ghetto, the golem grows in size and grows in violence and starts rampaging outside of the city and outside of the ghetto, and does a lot of destruction. And so the king calls for the rabbi, and he pleads with him to stop. and vows that the Jews will be given all rights, yada, yada, yada. So the rabbi wipes the letters from the golem's forehead. The golem crumbles, and it is sealed up in the Altneu synagogue in Prague, where supposedly it stays to this. But from that story comes a lot of different other things, like Superman was inspired by the Golem of Prague, because the creators of Superman were a couple of nice Jewish boys, and they wanted a golem for all of humanity that would not spiral out of control and burn down the galaxy, because that's Thanos. See, I do know what Marvel does.
You're the Marvel.
So that's the Golem story, and all nuance has been completely lost by nerd culture at large. And now you have, well, the Golem has 17 AC and he's only resistant to magic attacks and physical damage. There was some like tabletop system a friend of mine showed me that's got a Dybbuk in it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That for a lot of things that's a deep cut, but it has nothing to do with folklore. It's just monster in a swamp.
Yep.
Not what Dybbuks are, but
Yep.
Whatever. Anyway,
my favorite interpretation of the Golem mythology is that it is the physical embodiment of the Hebrew language and of Jewish art and culture, that in some ways will always like protect the Jewish people, that like Jewish culture is so important and relevant in the Western canon that like in some sense Jewish, if not people, but ideas will always be protected.
I like that. That's look at you. You're basically a chassid.
Yeah, it's a cool interpretation.
Yeah,
I love that one.
In the world's best book series, Dune, the last couple of books have space Jews.
Talk about the space Jews.
And there was some like discussion I saw on like a forum that was talking about how this was Frank Herbert trying to riff on that idea.
Yeah.
And like the whole golden path of
humanity
being scattered across the universes in order to protect all of humanity against something that could wipe them out all individually was actually inspired by that kind of thing of having a diasporic.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
I'm feeling very learned.
Yeah.
You were all wise and learned, but not as much as Reb Barry, formerly a wise and learned.
Yeah, and this interpretation of the golem comes from
Golem. If we're going with Hebrew, it's golem.
Golem
spelled differently is
comes from the idea of writing the letters on its forehead and inserting the Torah into it, and it like coming to life by the genius of Jewish art and literature in a sense. And that's a really cool interpretation. I like it a lot. And I think that it's a great analogy, because I think what happens here is kind of a dark version of that. I think that is what
I was really wondering where you're going to take this.
I think that's what Nixon is trying to do here.
Country music is the dark golem of America.
Richard Nixon found himself in the heartland of America at one of those things where they make like one of those state fairs where they make sculptures out of butter, and he walked up to the statue of someone, and on it he wrote lyrics from Okie from Muskogee and inserted a pack of Pall Malls. And
we're keeping to the letters same. He just quietly inscribed USA on the forehead of the statue of butter.
And then inserted Henry Kissinger's biography and
there you go.
Sent it off to defend white
But you boy
American
came up with
fragility.
this idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's like such an interesting thing to think about, that like Richard Nixon, to steal internet terminology, created a guy, and then after he created that guy, he like loosed this guy, this like theoretical construct onto the world, and people started like becoming that guy in a very real way. That I think like there are comparisons between like members of Nakam and golems and
So,
like,
Rachel,
yeah.
have you listened to those episodes Behind the Bastards yet?
I think you know what? I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember, so I
So
can't tell you.
Nakam is right after World War II, a bunch of partisans who had been fighting Nazis and were primarily made up of Holocaust survivors got together in the ruins of Vilna, which was a city in Lithuania, and formed a group that would only be formed of Holocaust survivors and who had killed Nazis before. So they had the plan to enact revenge, and they were going to poison 6 million Germans.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did listen to this episode. It's fucking nuts. Okay.
No, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. I was messaging Shark about it, and I was like sitting there grinding my teeth. I'm like, is Robert gonna goy-splain this weird thing in a very insensitive crack.com way? But no, they did a good job.
That's okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I should stop being Twitter brained when it's not necessary. But
And
yeah,
that's-
so like basically the plan, for those of you who don't know, the guy who runs this group, Abba Kovner, doesn't succeed
memory.
because there's a great song by a band called Daniel Kahn and the Painted Bird.
Great song.
Yeah, that do a song called Nakam 6 Million Germans.
Mhm.
And this is how I learned about it and read a couple books afterward. Really, really cool life that this guy led. And I'm not saying that as good. It's just a cool life. So the plan fucked up because he approached the predecessor of Nakam, of the Mossad, and was trying to get them to buy in to the plan and route poison and like resources to Nakam in Europe. This group was trying to be on the good side of Britain, who was in control of the Palestinian Mandate, and figured that if 6 million Germans wound up dead because of poison that could be traced back to their group, that would be bad. So they turned Kovner in. Kovner went into jail. The other members of Nakam back in Germany did some light poisoning of SS guards who were in prison. May or may not have killed anyone, may or may not have done anything. But after that, Kovner took the wrong lessons from all of this and wound up training the IDF to kill Arabs very successfully. And a bunch of people from Nakam either joined him or went into a bunch of kibbutzes all around Israel and took the better of the lesson, which is you should communally make a better life for people. But Kovner did not really do that, but he did keep writing poetry, which is
He's good at it. Yeah. And I think there's a way in which, whether you're talking about like Ava Kovner or Simon Rosenthal, the famous Nazi hunter, or Witold Pilecki, who's another really cool.
I don't know that guy.
Oh, Witold Pilecki, the Auschwitz volunteer. He voluntarily went to Auschwitz to talk about what was happening there and escaped.
Oh, yeah, I have heard about that guy.
He went from Auschwitz to fighting in the Warsaw Ghetto.
That's a guy that they should have done an episode on.
He was not Jewish.
No. Oh, that's
he was like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And
I remember, and he escaped a couple of times, right?
Yeah, and he in fact was killing members of the Polish Home Army who were anti-Semitic because he was just like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. And there's a way in which all of these guys like embody the Golem myth.
Yeah.
In a way
goes
that
out
I
of
think,
control because like
the
vengeance takes over in a way that no one is equipped to handle.
Yeah, reasonably. Like there's you can't like knock these guys for becoming the people they became.
No. Yeah,
Like,
it's just
an incalculable amount of suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that like when that's transferred on to like what Richard Nixon made, which I think is a similar cultural mythology of like a once important and powerful group of people becoming oppressed. It becomes far more vindictive when those people actually continue to hold on to power.
Yeah, and have never like lost any.
Yeah, never lost anything
at all. Like aside from going, huge mistake, Vietnam.
Yeah.
Never should have done that. And
none of them lost anything for it.
No.
Yeah. And you get this myth of like the white American male that gets tied in with things like country music and like a whole variety of other stuff, who is kind of this avenging angel for like Western values. And I guess I see like, I hate to say like the dark version of Ava Kovner, because Ava Kovner was the dark version of Ava Kovner, but like an almost more insidious version of that arises in groups like the Nazis or the Proud Boys, where they get this like protector of the victimized mentality, despite having never been victimized, and that lets them just be the most evil fucks the world has ever made.
We saw like a very, 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 very microscopic version of this in Redacted in the Uprising, where anyone who had signed up for security detail for certain things
became batshit
insane.
Yeah,
and you let a mythos take over anything that when the mythos becomes like the reason for doing something, it's a bad time for everyone around you.
And I think that's what's especially interesting about like the golem mythology and how that's so applicable, is that like, especially when that mythos is the protection of a culture in a way that Richard Nixon was creating with like country music and straight white American heteronormativity. Once you breathe life into that monstrosity, you have no control.
Yeah, I mean,
protecting an idea.
This is also, a metaphor and myth that's been with humanity ever. Pandora's box is the I don't know, for Western society is kind of like the baseline for this. You open up, you can't control it.
And I think that like just creating protectors of a culture is just like a fucking terrifying thing to do.
It's a sign of an authoritarian regime. Like, you have in Iran right now, like all of the uprisings that have happened has been a result of the I can't remember the Revolutionary Guard, I think, but the specific group that is there to enforce the norms of the culture. And people finally pushing back against that. But it's like always the concern is always like, well, how do you do this and not become the evil? How do you do this and not become what Alpa Kovner?
And I think I think country music is such a great example of that. And I think that's kind of the thrust of this episode for me, because like it's a genre rooted in like the protection of the working class and working class solidarity and values. And then the minute it became like a thing designed to reinforce the idealized working class in the way that Nixon imagined it, it just went bug fuck. And so I think like my lesson from all this time I've spent fucking reading about country music is that like the minute we're talking about like genre purity or defending anything like that,
true cult,
we gotta start fucking worrying every time.
Well, I mean, to tie it back to my genres, like eventually I think I'm going to do a bit more of a deeper dive into metal, but like the black metal movement came out of that. Like it was a bunch of very fucking strange people who decided that metal had become too popular and tried to claim that they were the only ones guarding the true roots of metal, which for them was not working class people in North England taking bits of like blues and taking bits of psychedelia. For them, it was like, we are going to be Scandinavian and we'll burn down churches. Which is, that's nowhere in the first Black Sabbath album, so God knows where they were coming at that. I mean, Ozzy's spooky looking in that, but I don't think that's like I don't know, I've listened to Black Sabbath dozens of times, and I have never never felt a need to go and burn down a giant church.
Nope.
To prove my metalness.
And the minute and that's the like thing, that's when the golem spirals out of control, when you're like trying to prove authenticity as a member of a culture.
That's the thing with country music that sets me off the most with like the stuff that's come out over the last decade, is just it keeps distilling into dumber and dumber incarnations of that, where I think on our Dune Discord server, I sent you guys that video of just it was a song that basically just was the word truck repeated
Yeah.
over and over again as if it was like a Tim and Eric sketch, but it's not. It was a
Yeah.
legitimate single that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. It's
It-
like getting so unbearable. It's like, yeah, they only talk about like trucks, beer, girls in short jeans, shorts, like freedom.
Yeah.
That might be
In our first episode, I was talking to Shark about this class trip I was on in middle school
Love
to
a
the
good class
the Ryman, I think. And we went around the little country music museum, and then some songwriter was there, and he came out and talked to us, and then we had a little treat where we broke off into pairs and wrote country music songs. And my partner and I wrote a song called 57 Chevy. And it was about how we wanted to be in a 57 Chevy. And that was the song.
Understanding the genre perfectly.
Exactly. But now it would be, I want to be in a Ford F-350. I want to run down some woke liberals.
Which doesn't work as well.
No, it doesn't. That's why you just distill it down to truck.
Oh, yeah. And like, yeah, it just gets worse and worse with every year. To
Red
prove its
Solo
own,
Cup.
Mhm.
Red Solo.
my God.
Any
The
Florida
creation of,
Georgia
I got friends.
Country
in
rap.
no place.
country rap, yeah, all of the Florida Georgia line genre is just like people trying to prove their authenticity to an art form.
Actually, Friends in Low Places, and it's not a bad song. I
Yeah.
kind of like that one.
And like neither is Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee, which I
Yeah.
find genuinely good, or
Yeah.
Johnny Cash's What Is Truth, or like any of these songs that are like relatively thoughtful while still being like vaguely patriotic or vaguely pandering to like a certain group of people, because they're not like out there to prove that they're like country enough.
It's like, they're not a great band, and I don't like them. I don't listen to them anymore. I think there's only one good album by them, but the Eagles, like that's a country group that's pretty like 7 Rose Stars Road something. There's some a cappella song they have that's really good.
I mean, well, yeah, a lot of the country music in like the late 90s, early 2000s that weren't yet like explicit, like you said. Yeah, they were easy to listen to, and they're still nicer to listen to than what we have today, in my opinion. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Truck. Do you listen to country music now, Rachel?
no, I do not.
You
It
hear
brings
in
back
your-
lots of memes from Michigan summers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do
God.
you think back to your time in the Michigan mountains with your hill folk cousins, y'all passing around a jug of trout whiskey?
No,
Listening to the newest Kid
you got in
Rock
the
album.
scene. Yeah, the scene's all wrong. First of all, we're on a boat
Okay.
in a lake, listening to Kid Rock, other country, drinking probably like Bud Light, or
Okay.
depending on who you are, Busch Light.
Oh yeah, we had
Yeah.
Natty Light in college. We got Yingling when I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
sophomore, and that was a big news thing. That's around the time that Wagon Wheel came out, and let me tell you,
good
Wow,
Lord.
exploded.
How was that song still popular when I was in college?
because it's catchy. It's a catchy
Oh.
fucking song, and they got good harmonies. Like that's a decent album. The one that they came out with, I think it's called Remedy, is pretty okay. But after that one, like they kind of Old Crow Medicine Show kind of leaned into losing their minds to prove how conservative and
That's a
Tennessee
great
they were.
example of like
Yeah.
you have to lose your mind to like be in the genre long enough, or
Yeah.
else you get Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, and they were starting to do that on Remedy. There's some I can't remember the title of the song, but it's like an awful, just saccharine song about like this the speaker of the song is going to a friend's funeral who was in Afghanistan,
Fucking
and it's
Christ.
just like they all go to Shoney's or some shit. It's like, buddy, you have not been doing Shoney's in
no.
15 years. Why are you doing this song?
I think about like one of the things that I really think about in all this is how like Chris Christopherson
Waffle
is
House. That's what it was. It wasn't
Waffle
Shoney's.
House,
It was Waffle House. Yeah.
Chris Christopherson is the greatest country music writer of all time. He's written like
damn good. He's like a guy that I think of as looking exactly like John Carpenter, which I know is not true.
He looks a lot
but he
like
looks
John
a lot
Carpenter,
like him. Yeah.
And so like he's written so many country songs that are staples of the genre, and he would in no way be able to make country music today. He was an Oxford-educated Rhodes Scholar from an elite coastal family.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he has an Oxford English degree.
Wow.
Shit.
And like he was not like a Maoist, but he was left-wing.
Yeah.
And was
what do you think Maoist country music would sound like? Songs about revolutionary asexuality.
It's just about like whatever shitty car Mao designed for everyone to drive.
I love my cap.
Yeah. Young women in ill-fitting jumpsuits in summertime. Oh, yeah. There's a genre we need to. We won't do a punk band. We'll do a Maoist country. Which feels like it shouldn't exist, but like white supremacist ska is a thing. So
I don't know what those bands are. That's not good.
Yeah, I don't know much about them, but I know it's a thing.
Ska.
Yeah, I've never understood ska.
It's fine. I don't like. There's a couple bands that are good, but they all sound the same. So it's just
which is kind of the point of the genre.
Yeah, this is fine.
It's like people who like the Grateful Dead. It's like, yeah, this is a good song.
Yeah,
there's one song, and it's a good song.
It's fun. It's fun to like bounce around to.
Yeah,
and every ska pit I've been in has been super friendly.
Yeah,
people like apologize for bouncing into you, and it's wild.
And it's great if you're really high and you just want to listen to the same song for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, you just throw on that record and you're just like,
yeah, it's fucking awesome.
And it's that for 45 minutes.
Wow,
and then occasionally like a yeah. Bring it out.
So now we're talking about ska. Do we have anything else we want to say about the world falling apart due to the creation of guys?
Well, so have you heard of the like controversy news with Jason Aldean's wife recently?
I'm so glad I haven't.
But please enlighten us, Rachel.
Yeah, well, she's a part of, well, not a part of anything, but like her and the wife of like Travis Tritt, they're some of now like, so wives of country music artists are
why
now
do
taking
all
social
these
media.
people have names like you tried to create a name generator that was racist to white people?
Jason Aldean, Travis Tritt. There's a post that floats around on r/baseball every couple of months. And it's like an AI generated roster with names like Sleeve McDykel. Yeah.
But anyway, they're like a part of this like little community now of country music wives where they are just openly supporting like Trump and the overturning the election and all that stuff. And like Travis Tritt's wife, what was it? Oh no, it was Jason Aldean's wife. They are talking about like there are still a lot of people, conscious people who've done their research at the elite power players behind the candidates and their agendas. This runs deep. May we all unite and prevail against the powers that be. And like other stuff like still my president, and like the same people counting the coronavirus aren't counting the mail-in ballots, are they? Like just shit like that.
The
so it's like they're
golem
wading
has gone
just
out of
head
control.
first into So
And it's
that's been
like
fun.
the amount of people who scream about elites from their phone in their private jet is just like a fucking frustrating demographic of humans. Like tweeting from a Learjet about elites who run the world should just get you like drone struck.
Yeah. My God. Fucking people.
Well, like of course they have to, because they couldn't support anything else. Like they'd be run out of the genre. They get Dixie.
I know, but like you don't have to say it out loud. You know, like you don't have to put it on social media.
It's good for business.
But it's like, what business is Jason Aldean's wife upholding? Like it doesn't sound like she's recording
his brand.
I don't think she is. No.
Yeah,
she's just a wife.
Well,
but I can tell you exactly what she looks like. I have never seen her before.
A bad tan, hair that kind of goes like this, and then back a lot. Very loud clothes, very loud makeup.
You are correct. Yep.
No, I like. So when I worked in social work, I knew one of my coworkers was an army wife, and she hated being an army wife because every other army wife was that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either that or they were hawking some, vitamin scheme.
That makes sense.
And it seemed, from what I know, it's just gotten worse since, I don't know when that was, 2011, whenever that was. It seems like it's just distilled more and more. The golem has gone out of control, and there is no Rabbi Lowe to go like, no,
no,
we're removing those words from your forehead. There's a cool, there was a neat little movie, digression. There's a neat little movie from a few years ago. I think it was an Israeli movie, but it was called The Golem, and it's like a shtetl has a golem to protect itself against the Cossacks. It's a cool little movie. Anyway, but yeah, no, that's it. It's all just distilled more and more, and I don't know. I think that is one of the you can't even say it's about Oregon, because Oregon outside of the I-5 corridor is that.
Yeah.
But like one of the good things about the I-5 corridor is that you don't have a preponderance of insane maniacs chanting "Stop the Steal" every Friday on a street corner outside of Walmart.
It is. Your statement is objectively true. It's also the most Aaron Simon thing I've ever heard. You talk about the goodness of a place as directly proportional to its distance from the highway.
Well, no, it's so true. I explicitly remember driving through Grants Pass, and there was a whole group of people with Trump signs, like having a day.
Yeah.
So you are.
No, I'm not. I'm not pro highway at all.
No, you're not pro highway. Just highway represents civilization.
Yeah.
And Aaron wants to be near a sidewalk
with ADA accessibilities.
Yes, God damn it.
There's no good bagels in Eastern Oregon.
There are no good
There
bagels.
are no good bagels.
Guarantee it. It's all Thomas bagels from Walmart.
Absolutely.
And that's just bread rolls with blueberries.
Extremely sad.
But yeah, it's like I think that is like a real fucking bummer about the direction this country is going in. It has been in for a long time now. I'm not saying this is anything super new, but like the self-segregation of populations into more and more distinct silos, where like, going back to what we were talking about with country music, is it starts off as a working class, fairly diverse genre, and then gets like siphoned off the more money there is to just being now trucks. And you're seeing that more and more. Where like, I don't know, Nashville used to be. I mean, you could find. I don't know. Nashville's a fucking the South is a weird fucking beast. But there was at some point a time where you could go into a restaurant and see CNN on a TV.
Yeah.
And now it's just more, it's not even Fox News anymore. It's One American Network
Yeah.
on TVs. And it's like that gets worse and worse. And I think I'd mentioned it before. My brother, who is objectively an idiot, once claimed that Texas would be blue by 2024. And look how that turned out. He's no longer in Texas.
Yeah.
But
He has fled to the redacted city where I live.
exactly.
So now I can force you to come here.
We'll talk about that off mic.
You hear this, Aaron's siblings? We'll force him to come here.
Oh, no, Joel will never listen to this podcast. He does not have the attention span for this. Neither does anyone on that side of that like segment of the family. But no, I mean, going back to the whole country thing, it's indicative of just kind of the way mass media works to some extent, where everything is distilled to the most palatable modons of what makes something sellable to a given population. And as the state decides to turn something into its propaganda arm, it becomes something horrifying.
Perfectly summarized. Never let the state make a guy.